Hi, Prateek. Welcome to this episode of Agents of Security. Very excited for our conversation today. For our audience, do you want to quickly introduce yourself, Prateek?
Thank you, Neha. Pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. This is Prateek Bhajanka. I'm a former Gartner analyst and Magic Quadrant author of the endpoint protection platform market. Overall, 15 years of experience in the cybersecurity space. I've seen the era of McAfee and antiviruses where I could make an excuse that the scan is running. So, and I'm not able to use my system. Can I just go on a break? And I could go on extended breaks to now a situation where you don't need any kind of scanning and, it's a real time era. Now I run my own cybersecurity consulting firm by the name Field CISO Advisory Services Private Limited. And pleasure to be here. Thank you, Neha, for having me here.
Welcome, Prateek. Prateek, you have extensive experience in cybersecurity, and you've seen cybersecurity industry from multiple angles, right? As a product leader, as a Gartner analyst, as a field CISO now. So you've covered all the grounds. So from your perspective, like when you see a product in cybersecurity, because it's such a trust-based industry or vertical, I would say, when does a product stop becoming a tool, like moves from being another tool to start becoming a more of a trusted platform?
Okay. That's a very interesting question to begin with. Of course, I think so. I used to give this example that in the last 15 years, or rather I would say pre 2015 era, the security leaders were putting multiple point tools on top of each other. Every use case, you would buy another point tool and try to solve your use case, and those point tools came to a point where they were not integrating with each other, and it started increasing these complexity in cybersecurity, and that's where it became a problem, and that's the reason why everyone in the industry is talking about consolidation. So, yes, it's a very important journey, not just for cybersecurity practitioners and leaders, to make sure that they are not just looking at point tools and they are looking at maturing that point tool to a platform. At the same time, it's very important for cybersecurity vendors like, cybersecurity vendors to make sure that they are not just doing a point solution and gradually moving it to platform. So one of the reasons and one of the aspects, the way they can go about is that don't just solve one single problem. Don't just say that, okay, as a part of the platform, I will only do this much and rest of the things I do not care about. Don't be just one part of the workflow. Be a place or a tool where you can see the entire workflow. A tool or a technology on which your security analysts are logging on daily basis. That is the first tool, that they are able to log in and see what's happening, get a lay of the land, and then start working on it. So it should not be just one aspect of that it gives you just visibility or it just gives you actionability. The way it can move from point solution to a platform is that when you can have the visibility, prioritization of things, you understand what are the things that I should focus on right away. And it also helps you take action right from the same platform. That's when, the customers start seeing you not as a point solution, but start seeing you as a platform. And you start seeing those indicators also very commonly. You would see indicators where they have started using the name of your product in high level, executive level conversation that, okay, I am using this product to pull out this report for executive reporting and messaging. And that's where you realize that, okay, my product is not no longer just one point product buried somewhere, but it is something which is, delivering value at multiple levels, executive level, technical level at the same time.
Makes sense. And then, like, one of my experience as a entrepreneur in cybersecurity is community plays a very important role, right?
Indeed.
No matter how much a vendor goes out and market themselves, it can never replace community, right? CISOs always trust a reference word from another CISO. Like, what has it been your experience, and what role does community play in cybersecurity sort of success?
Okay, that's another good one. I mean, I'll tell you the reason why, I'm smiling when you are talking about community, because this has been my pitch since the last 3 years across cybersecurity conferences. So I always say that in cybersecurity community, the attackers are very much, or rather I would say in the industry as a whole, the attackers are very much united. They are taking the best of breed approach where one attacker is coming and saying that, okay, I'm very good at negotiation, but I don't have the ransomware tools and I don't have initial access. So you are very good at initial access. You are very good at exploiting vulnerabilities. Why don't we come together as a community and launch attacks against the businesses? But we have that aspect missing today in the cybersecurity community. And I do very well remember the US Senate hearing after the SolarWinds sunburst attack. I very well remember Brad Smith of Microsoft, CrowdStrike, FireEye CEO. They spoke a very good point in the US Senate hearing, was that in the cybersecurity industry, nobody is sharing the threat intelligence with each other. So, in case you find something, you are not sharing it with another party so that they can, make use of that shared threat intelligence and make sure that after patient zero, the patient one and patient two and patient three can stop the attacks much before it happens. So, not to sum it up, or not to sum it up in the sense, to help you understand that community is not just important from a vendor perspective. Community is important from industry perspective as well, so that we are able to share intelligence with each other and we are able to have one united front as a community against the united attackers that you see in the world. At the same time, Neha, let me now answer your pointed question. I mean, I'm very passionate about this cyber community aspect. That's the reason I went ahead with the flow. If I talk about for a technology vendor and the startups who are providing technology, community is very, very important. As a founder, you have this idea that you just conceived, or, just popped up in your mind as a Eureka moment. But that idea will not manifest unless, it has an adoption or some level of adoption in the community. So, community is something that will help you take your idea from conception stage to conceptualization stage and then to realization. So, community is very important. Otherwise, what you may end up building is something that is not even solving anyone's problem. So, if I commonly say that if there is a technology which is not solving any problem, it is luxury. As a startup technology vendor or a cybersecurity vendor for that matter, you don't want to be luxury. Nobody does security for luxury, right? So that is where the community plays a very strong role to take something from conceptualization to realization, to make sure that you're not just developing a product, you're developing a solution.
So
Any
early
thoughts,
product
Neha? What are you
validation.
saying? Yeah. Yeah.
Product validation is what you're thinking this would help with.
Not just validation, even shaping, right? I mean, setting the direction.
Feedback.
Because, see, I also commonly see, and, being a Gartner analyst, I used to talk to a lot of security vendors back in those days. A lot of security vendors, we all have our preconceived notions when we are the founders. And sometimes we are so much we create so much of bias towards our own personal reservations that we want to build according to our experiences and reservations. That's where, if the community gives you the feedback in the conception stage itself or conceptualization, it can take you or give you a different direction. What if the market that you were initially trying to target with the product you had in mind was a small market? After having discussions, you realized that this is not a market I want to go after. I thought this is a big market, but this is not a big market. So I think it's not just early validation, it's also about early shaping up the idea for long term execution.
Then I think, yeah, like shaping of the product direction, right, an important aspect. Do you think like the community can also become sort of your distribution channel eventually, or a marketing channel? Can it evolve into that aspect as well?
Yeah, why not? I mean, and we have seen a lot of cases, right? I mean, if you have read this book, Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore, he says it very eloquently, is that the best marketing channel is the word of mouth. If your community likes what you produce and is giving you a is giving them a solution to the problem that the entire community is facing, they would become the unpaid champions of the product. They would want to refer this product to another one, saying that, okay, are you facing this problem? I know that I also faced this problem. I know of a solution which can potentially solve your problem. And that's how the community will become your champion, and will help you in expanding your market base as well. So community certainly plays a very, very strong role. And I've seen this in multiple cases, especially, of course, one of the first names that may come to anyone's mind would be Snick. Snick, the way they executed the bottom up selling by making the developers a part of the community and let the developers go back to their leaders and managers saying that, okay, I'm already using this product and this is something that solves my problem. That had a very domino effect in the industry and the market. And Snick was able to get a very good market share and very good market resonance. The second player, something which is very closer to the markets I used to cover is certainly CrowdStrike. I mean, this is one example that I very commonly give is that even after the July 19th math that happened 2 years ago, was it 2024, right? Very few customers left CrowdStrike.
Interesting.
It is because of the community that they have built among the customers, among their users. And a lot of CISOs, I remember I spoke to them and they were like, CrowdStrike also helped us in saving us when there was a breach that happened. They were the first ones to came up and they saved our company. So we understand what happened on July 19th is not in the right spirit and it did incur us losses and disruption. But we still believe in CrowdStrike, it can happen. It was an unfortunate incident that happened, but because of the strong community that they have built and the confidence that they give us, I'm happy to continue with CrowdStrike. So I think that is the community speak and the confidence that can, not just give you market adoption, but sustenance at the same time.
Makes sense. Yeah, very impressive examples, both of them. So if as a vendor, I am thinking about, I have realized that community is very important, and now I have to go build one. What are the first steps or like few steps I should take to start building that community? And B, who should I think about including as part of my community?
Interesting. So I will again take one of the examples I gave in my previous response, Jeffrey Moore, Crossing the Chasm book. So I really liked the approach that he included in his book is the beachhead strategy. So, I mean, he takes this reference from the World War II situation when the Allied forces, they started capturing, they started getting the uh, Normandy Beach, and that's how it became beachhead, and that's how they were able to win the World War Two. So the way we should build the community is that we should not go broad. What typically ends up happening is that when a startup founder they try to talk to multiple companies which have very less in common among each other. And that's where you start getting multiple different and non-correlated feedback from multiple security leaders. So what important is that you define one industry, one size of the organization, maturity of the organization, and then you build a community based on that vertical and that size and maturity of the organization. That is how you start building your community first rather than going very broad. Every security leader is not the same. Every organization is not the same. Every organization is not at the same maturity level. Every organization does not have the same problem. That's where it's very important that you, first of all, define what is the community, different filters using which this is my community that I want to begin with. That is first step. The second step is that do not just focus on the problems that you are solving in your company. Typically, you have been in the industry since a long time. Typically, the founders, what they end up doing is that they only focus in community development for a problem that their product is trying to solve. And that's where, you start losing traction with your community because they feel that, okay, subtly they are just trying to sell their own product. They will make up a solution to a problem that does not exist. Or rather, I would say they would make up a problem for a solution that they're offering in the market. And that is where you start losing trust because community is all about the trust among each other. So do not just talk about your own problem statement, but try to get the problem statement from the community, float the idea, make sure that they also speak to each other. There is a sense of trust among each other that if I share this problem statement with Neha is not just going to come and sell her solution for this problem statement. So that is where it's very important that you should go broad in terms of the problem and the security problem statements. The third one, and I'm not sure whether you would like it or you would find it funny, is that I very commonly see and no offense to any chief marketing officers, I very commonly see chief marketing officers heading the communities and the marketing team heading the communities in multiple vendor organizations. That's where the technical folks and the cybersecurity practitioners, they lose the trust for the reason that they feel that, okay, I'm just a part of their marketing initiative. My voice, my input is not going to have any material impact on the company, because it's very rare that a chief marketing officer or marketing persona will have a very strong input to the product and the product direction of the vendor. So they feel that, okay, I'm just, another marketing channel for the vendor, and, it's not going to have a material impact. And that's where, they don't take it very seriously. And they also feel that, okay, some of these statements and research findings that may be being shared in the community is something which is all made up and may have very less ground relevance. So it's very important that, who is heading the community, who is the face of the community from the vendor side, to make sure that, you build that trust with the set of practitioners and the security leaders. Sorry
So
if it was a
maybe have
long
somebody
answer.
from the technical side also be part of the, or event, at least be, part of the
Yeah,
community or heading, yeah, taking the
yeah,
feedback.
CTO or a chief product officer who can actually make use of the input, right? Otherwise, if you keep on giving, the community will keep on giving you the feedback. And if they see that there has been zero impact, and they would feel underappreciated, and they will stop giving you the feedback. So that's where, in fact, as I advise multiple vendors, I always talk about this aspect that when you're talking to the community, you should engage with them in such a manner that they start developing creators bias towards your product. You should make them involved in such a manner that they should feel that they are on the front wheel, they're on the driving seat of your product. And they develop this creators bias that they feel proud of saying that, okay, you see this feature, I was the one who recommended this feature to Neha, and now this feature is doing so well. And that's where, to your previous question, is that can community be your channel as well? That's where your community will also start becoming a channel for sales and sustenance at the same time.
Interesting. So tactically, is it like creating a Slack channel with all your supporters and all your existing customers and advocates in it, or what does it look like tactically?
Tactically, if you ask me, I'm a person who is a lot more, I would want to be a lot more less digital, because digitally it's very difficult to connect with people to the level where, you can just give a call to the other person and say that, okay, I have this problem statement, can you recommend me what's the right solution? So I think the collaborations and the community development sessions should happen in person as much as possible, to begin with, at least, so that you start getting this feeling of community. You start with smaller groups, and then to keep in frequent touch, that's where tactically you can, go to or move to a platform like Slack or WhatsApp or any, group that works. And, it is more to keep in touch and as a follow up. So I am a big fan of doing a lot more things in person and then following up with digital media.
Makes sense. Okay. But as you mentioned, right, like my experience is security is still very closed doors, right? A company A doesn't want to share what is happening from a security perspective within its company to come with company B, right? And they don't even want to share the security stack they have internally, right? So how do you overcome that barrier in that community formation?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Again, I mean, it may sound like a very obvious answer, but I believe that's the word is trust. So that is where you have to do the trust building. So if I, let's say that you and I are having a chat, and you are sharing with me the current security challenges you face in your organization. So rather than empathizing with you, I'm seeing every problem statement as a sales opportunity or a sales, an opportunity for me to sell the product. That's where, you will lose the trust. So in a lot of cases where when people are talking about their problem statements, it's better to understand and empathize with them rather than trying to suggest a solution right off the bat. So that's where people will start opening up, because see, we all are humans, right? The moment someone start empathizing with us, they will open up, they will tell you a lot more about the problem. And if you give them the confidence that this is not something, this is a one-to-one conversation, and this is not something I will share it with anyone else or refer it with anyone else, I think people will open up, because a lot of they want to eventually find a solution to the problem they are facing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once you build the trust, of course, they will share a lot more information, which can certainly give you a lot more feedback and data points.
Makes sense. Yeah. And then what are the common mistakes I should be avoiding when I'm trying to build that security community?
I would say the three things that I mentioned previously: don't go broad, don't boil the ocean, don't try to build a community with everyone together. It's not possible. Find out what is the problem that you can solve, right? Eventually. So, this is one industry that I want to target, and one persona that I want to target. So build a community or build a focus group. I remember from my MBA days where you used to talk about focus groups. So build that focus group based on the personas which are identical to each other, something that they can help each other out. Because just imagine a manufacturing CISO and a healthcare CISO, when they're in the same room, they'll not be able to help each other to the same extent we would expect. So it's very important that we bring the same level of people, same persona of people together. That is one. The second thing is that don't just talk about the problems that you're solving. Help them, understand their problems, and also get them peer help and not just a technology help. Also help them with processes, recommendations. And the third one is also, make sure that it's not just your marketing office
Mm-hmm.
who is heading the community.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely get funds from them. I'm
Yeah.
not denying, I'm not saying you should not, but they shouldn't be the one heading the communities, because that's where the trust will not build, given that they would very quickly realize that we are just a part of the top of the funnel in marketing and nothing beyond it. Security folks, as you mentioned, they are very cagey about what they do. And the moment they realize that, I'm just, a lead source or a lead for marketing, they would start being a lot more cagey.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. So I think you partially covered a part of that question, but what is the right time to start engaging the community? How early? Like, is it when I'm at the ideation stage and I am going through multiple ideas on what I can build, or after I have found product market fit? Where in the stage do you think a founder should double down on that community building aspect?
I would say as early as possible. And when I say as early as possible, I think the biggest example in front of us is Viz.
Hmm.
Viz developed their platform completely based on, completely would be too much, but largely based on the community feedback.
Hmm.
They reached out to the CISOs and security practitioners, is that, okay, tell me what problem do you have? Rather than me coming to you and saying that this is my product, see whether it can be a solution to you. They went to the security leaders, practitioners, that tell me the problem and I will build a solution for you, which will eventually be a lot more helpful to you. So I certainly believe as soon as possible, so that you don't end up, bloating your product, or you don't end up creating product capabilities which are not even used by the companies yet,
Hmm.
and they are not ready to adapt, and you are able to build a product that can actually solve the problem. So the answer is ASAP and as early as possible in the life cycle. But yes, build a focus group, build a dedicated focus group, rather than a mix of people who are not identical at this point of time.
Makes sense. Okay, so very selfishly, then, like companies are building agentic AI for security operations. Where do I start? Like, how do I go about it?
So I think sympathizing, empathizing will certainly help, because right now, okay, let me take a step back. So, as an ex-Gartner analyst, as a former field CISO at Sentinel One, and someone who likes to keep in touch with what's happening in the industry and advises too, I've seen multiple AI pitches where they are trying to sell it to people with the proposition that I'm going to replace you eventually.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot build a community by saying that I'm going to replace you tomorrow. Buy me, and I will replace you tomorrow.
Mhm.
So I think one thing that you as an AI SOC founder should do is that please do not talk about the fact that I'm going to replace you. That's
100%.
not going to fly. That's not going to help. And that's not going to be useful for anyone, right? So if you make me a lot more empowered, of course, I would like it a lot more. So empathize with me, talk about my professional challenges. Right now I am burnt out. As an analyst, I'm burnt out. As an analyst, I am bored at the same time. What do I mean by bored? I am dealing with the same type of alert 10 times in a day,
Mhm.
and I have to go about the same workflow. So my intellectual appetite and hunger of doing extraordinary things and working on some very groundbreaking incidents and doing threat hunting, I'm not able to satisfy my intellectual appetite.
Mhm.
So that's where if you empathize with the analysts who are intellectually unsatisfied at this point of time, that's where you will build a very good community, because that is where you would come in and say that, okay, I would help you satisfy your intellectual hunger because I will take care of the commodity stuff for you, so
Mhm.
that you can do greater things
Mhm.
and you can build your career, you can build your resume, you can do much better for your business. So again, just to connect all the dots, I would suggest that please work on empowering the humans, resonate with their problems, and tell them that, tie your solution, your community building messaging, that I'm going to make you better, I'm going to make you a lot more successful in the future. And you would start seeing, changes and the trust getting built in the community. I hope that answers your question. And
Yeah, that does the question. Yeah.
and it wasn't too philosophical, because sometimes I do get philosophical.
No, I think it hit it right. I do see. I think yeah, I do see a lot of vendors talking about analyst replacement. But that kind of messaging, especially also when the AI is not there yet, right? So doesn't make sense. 100% aligned
Yep,
with you. Yeah.
exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
Prateek, any last words of advice, wisdom that you want to share with our listeners, especially when we are right at the beginning of our RSA for 2026, and the theme is power of community. Anything else you want to add?
No, absolutely. I think the theme power of community is very strong this year. I always say that let's put up a united front against the united attackers so that we can win against the attackers. Right now, what is happening, we are very much working in silos. I commonly give this example that in a company, the endpoint security team does not talk to network security team, and they do not talk to email security team. But we don't realize that we are up against the same attacker. We have one common enemy, that is the cyber attacker, and they are united. So rather than we are fighting this battle individually, let's bring our forces together, let's unite ourselves. And rather than thinking that, okay, this is an email, not my problem, let me just pass on the ticket, I don't care what happened afterwards, moving out of that employee mindset to the defender mindset is very much required. And that will come with the power of community, where we all come together and feel that we are that community that can stop against, or stop the attacks. So that is very important. So unite against the attackers and have one single united front than divided front.
On that positive note, I think we can wrap up our podcast today. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Prateek, for your uh, for your answers and talking with us today.
Thank you, Neha. Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.